Hello and welcome to this technology update presented by Emerge. I'm Anthony Smith, Chief Economist here, and I'm excited about this one because we have founder and CEO of Emerge, Andrew Leto. Andrew, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me again. Appreciate it.
So, Andrew, I'm no stranger. We're no stranger here for knowing about who Emerge is and what you guys do. But for those who may not be familiar, who is Emerge?
What we do is I started one of the biggest brokerages in the country called Global Trans. And when I was there, I realized that one of the biggest missing pieces of technology that no one was working on, like it was just crazy to me that no one was even thinking about it, is procurement. So we are focused purely on procurement. Every shipper I noticed this when I was a broker, that every shipper in the United States has a TMS, and that's how they, manage their freight. That's how they execute their freight. But if you ask a shipper, and I asked this a million times when I was at my first company, Global Trans, I say, what do you use? Great, you have a system to execute your freight, but what do you use to go find carriers, find new carriers, award your current carriers, benchmark your lanes, and then run your bid and perform your bid, procurement? The answer was nothing. We typically use spreadsheets and emails, what most shippers use. And the TMSs don't do it really well. I mean, no TMS does procurement good. I mean, TMS is always focused on execution. And I said, wow, if someone, I think that's my next thing. What I want to do is, because I love building technology. And to me, it's the biggest missing piece in every shipper supply chain. Every tech stack that you look at of a shipper, they're missing procurement. And that's what we're doing. We're focusing purely on the procurement. And it's actually the perfect time for what we built, because now shippers are running more bids than ever. And they need to run more bids than ever. And running spreadsheet and email bids, Excel spreadsheets and email, and or not running a bid, and or using third-party softwares that are out there that aren't freight specific. I think it's actually been a perfect storm for us the last 3 years because of what's happening and what's going on in the freight market.
There's definitely been a lot, as you said, that's happened in the freight market over the last few years here. But when we're diving into those shippers, why do you think shippers are so hesitant to adopt a new technology to procure their freight?
No shipper's ever said to me, and I never heard one say it, that they want to add more carriers. They've always wanted to do it with one carrier if they could. They know they can't, so they need carriers, but they always try to whittle down their carriers. So if you have, like, let's say 20 carriers, 30 carriers, you don't really need a robust platform or system to run bids. I mean, you could kind of do it on Excel spreadsheets and email when you have that many carriers and brokers. But when COVID happened and route guides started failing, and now most of your freight is, historically 95% of your freight was running contracts. Now you're moving a lot to spot, and route guides were breaking down. You had to run more bids than ever. And you weren't running annual bids, you're running seasonal bids. So shippers really before COVID would be fine. They had their 20, 30 carriers, and they had like 10 brokers, and those 10 brokers are the ones who connected them with thousands of other trucks out there. But shippers were always hesitant to bring on a platform. And plus, there really wasn't anything out there. There's a couple systems out there for procurement, but they're not freight specific. They're also systems that you would buy, a company would purchase pens and pencils on. So that's the reluctancy was there, but in the last 2 or 3 years, shippers have kind of seen that they have to have something to run more of a continuous bid cycle.
And Andrew, when we're looking at the landscape now, what are shippers and carriers currently dealing with when it comes to procuring their freight?
Yeah, so more bids than ever, and right now you shouldn't be no one in their right mind should run a year-long contract. I mean, rates are dropping. So you have to run a bid, and you have to run like maybe a 3 or 6 month bid on a lot of your freight. Some of the biggest shippers that historically have run most of their freight on the annual bid are now running 3 month to 6 month contracts on that freight, because they know that in 3 years, rates are sky high right now, but they're moving downwards dramatically. So don't go lock in a year contract. So, the continuous bid cycle is now we're starting to see. And I really, people always say, and I think this is so wrong, that the RFP is dead. And I think that they're right up to a certain aspect. The annual RFP is dead, but running the bid and locking in your rates on a contract still makes sense. And it always makes sense. It makes sense to contract a carrier, not go look in the spot market track. So running shorter bid cycle is, I think, the new way to do it. And now that there's technology out there like Emerge, and and I think that we have a few other competitors that are startups that are trying to do this, but running a better, faster bid cycle is the new norm. It's not the RFP's dead. And I don't want to, it doesn't make sense. It'll never make sense not to lock capacity in, especially, you don't want to be looking for freight every day. It's very, very rare the spot market is better than the contract market. It is like happening sometimes, like even now you'll find better paying, spot market just got crushed and a lot of carriers are looking for spot. And so you could find better spot rates in some of your lanes, but it never makes sense to think about, I'm going to run all my bids, all my freight spots. So, and it's more hassle for you as a shipper.
Andrew, that is some amazing insight and perspective that you just presented there. When we talk about some of that, actual diving into some of that data there, or really getting into the thick of it, there's always been that transparency that you hit on just earlier. When you look at something like benchmarking, why is that so important?
Yeah, so I believe, and I didn't know this when I first started Emerge, but the most successful shippers that I've seen that run the best procurement and pay the least amount of rate or price and have the most efficient network of carriers are ones who benchmark. And the reason why you should benchmark, and there's great systems out there. You have FreightWaves, you have DAT, and this information is available for you to buy. You should not only benchmark, and most shippers, remember, they buy DAT and they buy FreightWaves, not really to benchmark the way I believe, which I'll say in a second is what you should use it for, but they buy the information so they could show their boss, hey, listen, rates are going up by 30. I mean, think about this. A year ago, I budgeted $1 billion for freight, and now I got to go to my CFO and tell him, no, we're going to pay $1.5 billion this year in freight. Well, the whole point of a benchmark, really in the shipper's eyes, the number one use case is to show my CFO, like, hey, yeah, we're paying extra $500 million in trucking this year, but I'm paying at market rates or below market rates, so give me a break. And that's what benchmarking has historically been mostly used for. But the way to really use benchmarking, in my opinion, is to not only for that, that's great. You should let people know, we're and see how you're doing in the market, but not just see how you're doing towards the market to use benchmarking. You should use benchmarking in correlation with your procurement. And what I mean by that is when you benchmark all your lanes, you should have them all your lanes indexed in a benchmark. If you see you're paying 10% below market, and you're about to go to bid, and we see rates are remaining flat in that lane, maybe you should ask for a contract extension from your carrier, or don't go to bid on that, or you're paying 10% below. Or maybe you should run, instead of if we see rates are dramatically dropping in a lane, like they are now in a lot of lanes, don't run a 6-month, run a 12-month. So what we use benchmarking at Emerge for is to, in correlation with shippers and procurement, is to let the shippers know how long and the duration of the bid. I believe that the perfect way to run it, the most efficient network that I've seen, are shippers who run monthly bids and they have and every quarter they have a quarterly bid, a 6-month bid, and a 12-month bid. You have your 12-month lanes, you have your 6-month lanes, and you have your 3-month lanes. Your 3-month lanes are lanes that we see are going down dramatically, and in 3 months we could probably get a better rate. My 6-month lanes are rates that I'm paying a little bit below market, and in 6 months or in 3 months, my rate, it looks like we'll be fine at this where we're paying now. And my 12-month lanes are lanes where I see that we're paying we're paying 10% below market. It looks like it's not dramatically going down. In 6 months or 3 months, I'm not going to get a better rate. Let's lock these rates in for 12 months. The only time that you should ever run a 12-month bid on all your freight is when rates are dramatically, like when COVID happened, like right after, when demand for trucking started getting taken. That's when you should lock your carriers in and your rates, is when you know that rates are going up. I mean, it just makes sense. But even though you do that, obviously you'll see it still fails, but that's how you get ahead of it. And so right now in this market, you should be running a bid right now. Most of your lanes should be at 3 months, maybe a few at 6 months, but really none at 12 months. I haven't seen any that you should be running 12-month rates, 12-month bids on. But yeah, for us, procurement and benchmarking go hand in hand. A successful procurement, the most successful procurement events, in my opinion, are ones where benchmarking is done prior to figure out the duration of the bid or end of bids that happen. And like I said, the perfect way to run a $100 million freight spend or $20 million freight spend, even $1 billion freight spend, is to have 3 different bid types. I have my 3, 6, and 12-month lanes. And I'm going to send that to my carriers. Here, I want 3-month rates on these, I want 6-month rates on these, and I want 12-month rates on these. That's the ideal way to do it, and use benchmarking at the same time.
Andrew, thanks so much for joining us today. We're looking forward to hearing back from you in the future.
Awesome. Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us for this technology update. Be sure to tune in for more.